Now,
I wish the Reddit questions weren't like offering a thing, you know, because they are like, here's the question, but also a perspective. And now I'm like, do I really think? Do I think what I think, or do I think what this person thinks?
Yeah.
That's a good thought. God damn.
It's okay to agree with people, right?
No.
Well, at least he's consistent.
Okay. Right. On that, I'll get us started, and we'll start off with like the 2 topics that Octavian very kindly came up with, and then from that we'll warm up and go into the Q&A. So, hey guys, Socket here, and today we're joined by the usual lineup of Rise, Octavian, and Niggy. We've got 3 pre-prepared topics, then we've got a whole bunch of Q&A that we'll be taking from chat and Twitch and some stuff on Reddit. So if you do have any good questions, write it down, send it on Twitter, send it on Reddit, or just spam it in chat, and eventually one of us will read it. But before we get into that, Rise, what have you been up to?
Gaming. PoE is pretty great. Legion's still cool somehow. It's such a simple mechanic, but it gets so much done. But right now, I'm playing an Arc Trapper. Okay, I'm leveling 1. I don't know. Everybody's telling me not to do it. I kind of like it. You can switch to like 10 different trap setups, so it doesn't really bother me too much. So not like they're actually different. All the like good lightning, all the good trapper setups are lightning now. I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's like something else. I haven't thought about it too hard, but it's like, you know, lightning trap, arc trap, like shock nova. I don't know. That's like it.
Arc traps is still fine. It's not great. It's kind of just strictly worse than lightning trap overall, but it's not incapable of playing the game. You know, I was playing lightning trapper as a league starter, and I swapped over to lightning trap for like a day. You know, spec the tree a little bit, changed 1 or 2 wheels of like proj stuff over to non-proj stuff, and it cleared T16s and did Uber Elder. So it can do everything, but it just felt worse than lightning trap.
I had the exact same experience because I also played Lightning Trap and then tried out Arc a couple of times. Because, you know, you have that one guy in your chat who assures you that your setup is wrong and the other setup is better.
One guy?
Yeah, I had that guy who's like, Arc is definitely better. And I'm like, I don't know. So I tried it with level 20. It's like, no. With the level 21, it's definitely better. So I tried that again. I was like, Lightning Trap just feels good. A lot of people have been telling me that purifying flames is actually pretty good. And
a trap?
Yeah,
apparently it does like a lot of damage.
Does it? Well, I mean, it's a fist conversion skill with a high base damage. So, I mean, sure. But how does it target? Like, does it have any clear?
It's got like pretty good clear in like a map kind of like Minnow, which is narrow but not super narrow. It can fill the entire floor full. But you wouldn't.
Does it shoot out and target, or how does it target?
It's just like loads of circles, just loads of like massive circles that stack up.
Okay.
Also, explosive trap. The AoE on it isn't amazing, but in 3.6 when they did the spell rework, they actually added like +5 base AoE to it or something crazy. So that's actually pretty decent now.
I remember Matthew played it a long time ago now, and it looked fun, if anything. That's for sure.
It's a lot of damage.
I mean, that kind of leads into maybe later on down the line a topic that was in a lot of the questions of how sharply defined the meta is nowadays. You know, like you see last league Winter Orb and this league Cyclone, and before that to some extent Stormbrand, though less with Stormbrand in the end game because it wasn't as powerful in the end game as some of the more recent ones. Like 30-40% of the player base are playing a single skill, and I actually don't personally think that's down to balancing issues on GGG's end, at least not entirely. In my opinion, not in the majority share. I think it's down to the player base becoming more and more oriented towards a meta, so to speak. Partially because I think there's just more better players now, and there's more better tools. So there's more people who are going to more quickly adapt to a meta that they can more quickly find out about.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad thing. I definitely see it too, but I don't think it's a bad thing as long as people don't like, this is what's viable and everything else not. Like that's where I really have a problem with it. So
There's a glut of mid-tier skills, which actually was a complaint that I had back in Delve League, if I recall, when they first added Delve in the big infinite scaling floor. I was like, there's like 6 skills that can do this at a decent depth, which is kind of still true if you push to the absolute end of Delve. That's always going to be true. But there's many more like 6 or 7 out of 10 skills now, and I'm pretty happy with that personally. And I've been playing Armageddon Brand, which I would give a solid 6 out of 10. And I'm going to be playing Charge Dash next, and on paper it looks fine. I'm probably going to enjoy that too.
just a 6? Damn.
Yeah, I mainly
It's
because
like
of Legion.
Like a 10.
Any league other than Legion, I would have given Armor Brand like an 8. But it's not good for Legion because of the delay in the coverage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's like the one thing that kind of gets me a little bit about Legion is like how defining it is for builds, whether or not there's the first question you have to answer of any build. It's like, can I do Legion properly or not? And if you can answer yes, it's kind of like,
And you can still like make decent currency and play the game and have fun without clearing. Like, I don't get to clear much of Legions. I just get to target the boxes and open them basically, and I still make plenty of currency to fund my build. But because Legion's just like that strong, you can clear like 60% of it and make a lot of money still. But it does feel bad.
Nobody really got excited about, I can kind of clear Legion.
Yeah.
It's not really funny.
It's not exciting.
See,
even if it's viable, it's not exciting.
Yeah.
For me, it's the other way. I haven't played a build where I was like, I can kind of clear it. For the most part, it's like, Legion is gonna clear me. Like, I need to, I need to triple the defense of my normal character just to be able to do Legion in hardcore.
Yeah.
It's like that feels pretty limiting in that way.
I've got a pretty good example of that. I'm currently playing Corsicaro. I love Corsicaro. It's one of my favorite builds. And Corsicaro is pretty good at clearing Legion. I could be playing Essence Drain, which would be slightly better, should we say. And that is one thing that I've run into quite a lot this league, where I'm kind of like, I really love this ability, but every time I see a Legion, it just feels slightly bad. And
don't play Explosive Arrow. You know what? You guys were right.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah. It does damage. You can do a lot of damage with it, but the stack up and like everything going, No, I was That's okay.
It feels like any skills that still live in that space where you're like taking a second or two to do some interesting, unique mechanic to kill the enemy just don't properly function around Legion. Because you just want to kill the enemy immediately. It feels really bad at the end of a Legion when you find a good box and your Armageddon brand doesn't hit it because it has a delay before it lands.
Yeah. Because it would work fine if you could just, knock them out. But you can't. So you can't you're not allowed the good fight that you're looking for because you can't activate it fast enough. Because your build, let's say you could actually open everything, will be just fine for actually dealing with it. And it'll be a really fun fight, with weaving everything in and then stacking things together, having the big rares over here and here. And it's just like the opening everything.
Yeah.
The struggle.
If they didn't have that though, like Legion is already, as Ryan said earlier,
a
very difficult mechanic for hardcore. It would have just been an unbeatable wall, and people would have just skipped it until their build was 90% complete.
Oh sure. No, I don't disagree. I don't think that we should have it so we can just like click a button and everything opens. Yeah. It was more like an observation.
I would feel pretty disappointed because we all love Legion. It's an amazing league. I would feel a bit disappointed if we had another Legion style league next league though, where I'm kind of like, I can't choose the builds I want to play. I think it's great when you have a build and you're like, I'm so glad I chose this build for this league. But I don't think it's that good when some builds feel punished, so to speak.
As poorly initially received as they were, I'd like a league, next league or the one after, sometime soon, that's focused on dangerous individual enemies again. So as poorly received as something like Bestiary or Synthesis, or sorry, not Synthesis, Betrayal might have been. They're they're like nuclear material for GGG because they're so hard to handle. And if you overbuff them even slightly, then they feel bullshit. But I actually really enjoy that kind of combat. You know, once the leagues have been in the game for a little bit and been allowed to stew and been like the rough edges have been smoothed off, things like Bestiary and Betrayal feel really fun to me.
Well, the thing is, like, it doesn't. Okay, so in that way, Betrayal only covers like one base, really. Like, you don't need a whole lot of mobility. You don't really need like a well mapping character, and which is why Legion feels so good for me, because I generally don't boss that much unless I actually make a boss killer. So I generally make like mapping character.
Yeah.
And so in that way, Legion feels good because I've got the mobility, I've got everything that I need for like a fast moving character. But if you're doing Betrayal and it's like it really stands out as a piece of content in a map, you need that like slower pace. You need to invest to be able to deal with it. And then you have to make sacrifices where, yeah, maybe you have like less mobility and you need to build up a little bit more defense. And that just feels, well, to me, it feels fine. But like a lot of people, I think, have a pretty big problem with that. Just preparing for this like tiny bit of a map, you know?
It's understandable for sure. I mean, I'm pretty much always in the camp of building tankier, more single target oriented builds and sacrificing clear speed in order to do that. So that maybe that's why I enjoy the content so much, because that's what I like tailoring my playstyle to. I can admit to subjective bias for sure.
It's probably why I like Legion so much. Yeah, now that I think about it, because it literally fits exactly what I like to do. And it's to the point now where some of my characters, even on hardcore, where again I typically don't do it, I'm like, let's kill a guardian with this guy. Let's kill Shaper. You know, it's just on hardcore, a 10% chance of dying or 5% is just never worth it. But now you have to build so tanky that it's like, why not? Let's just do it. I feel like actually investing into my characters for the first time ever, which is also weird. Yeah. I always build these fucking like really junky, 3x characters and just get to the next one, the next one, and the next one.
But you really like mapping as well, right? So you're trying to optimize your character for mapping, and it just kind of naturally feeds into, having to deal with the Legion monsters gives you a character that now can deal with all the other content without even having to try.
For sure.
It's just like a natural progression.
Yeah, it's just like for mapping stuff, you don't really have a whole lot of opportunity. Like you choose a mechanically balanced, ability, and then you slap a alchemist quicksilver flask on it. You have movement speed on your boots, and you just run around. It's like not that much thinking about it. In the past, you had to optimize attack speed and all this stuff. Now it's like just shield charge around. So yeah, you have to focus on these other things, and yeah, I like that transition. I think it's cool.
Would you guys difficult to adapt to? Agree? And I think I noticed this a lot with my viewers, that it seems like people generally prefer that more well-rounded kind of build, the build which can boss, can map. I think that's the vast majority more so than super mapper or super bosser.
Well, most players don't have the time to invest in the game that somebody in our position might, where you can make dedicated, super specialized builds for X or Y task. So they want to have a build that's going to make it so they're not locked out of any content. Even if they don't ever get to Uber Elder, even if they're playing casually and they only get to like T12 maps, they want the option for their build to eventually do Uber Elder, because they don't want to feel like they can't.
Yeah,
and that's like as important as the capability.
Yeah, for sure. Even like you see people who have like some really bizarre stats. I'm hearing, oh, it's my music. I'm like, something's playing. I don't know if it's you guys or me. People are like, I have 7,000 life and 3 million POB DPS. Can I do Shaper? It's like, dude, you shouldn't really worry about that. Just do it. That's definitely a well-rounded character you've got going,
So since we kind of skirt around it a little bit before we get into the other topics, if you could pick the focus for next league, like how this has been a mapping focus league, what would you want?
The league mechanic or the league
play
overall?
Style kind of thing.
Oh,
because this has been a mapping play style, whereas Delve was more about like a min-maxing play style. So like, if you had to pick, kind of, maybe you might disagree with that. But
again, subjective opinion here. I realize this may not be shared by everyone, but greedy, subjective, invested streamer man opinion. I'd really like to see some more endgame bosses pushed. They added tools for instant responses in the way of like instant move skills and things like Molten Shell and Berserk and Immortal Call and all that. So adding bosses that are going to test the limits of those tools and ensure that you have to be using them correctly at the right times to be able to beat them and that sort of thing, that could be cool. I'd love to see more alls, basically.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot too. Honestly, I feel like we're so spoiled, you know, because even when we're discussing Legion, it's like optional content. Everything that we've been engaging with lately has been optional content. And then in the past, GGG really stressed the importance of like weaving in and out the leagues that force you to do something, like Beyond, for instance, or like Invasion was. And I'd like to be, you know, I'd like to be forced to do some stuff again. Too much stuff has been optional. So yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be particularly well received because even when people have the option and it doesn't feel good, they're going to bitch about it. So if now they don't have the option, they have to. Yeah, but I still nonetheless like to see it.
Interventions are in the video game.
I like
Yeah.
interventions. I've always
I like them
liked
a lot.
Slightly less than optional. You know?
Yeah, but I like them. And I mean, people bitched about them a lot. It's funny too because it's only been like what 2 leagues, and I don't know. Betrayal doesn't feel as big of a problem as it did during Betrayal, even after all the nerfs and everything. It kind of just like just kind of.